Yippe-Ki-Yay, Mr. Falcon.
Bonus content.
The space goes down, down, baby, down, down the roller coaster. Sweet, sweet, baby, sweet, sweet, don't let me go. Shimmy, shimmy, cocoa bop, shimmy, shimmy, rock. Shimmy, shimmy, cocoa bop, shimmy, shimmy, rock. I met a girlfriend, a Trisket. She said a Trisket, a biscuit, ice cream, soda, pop, vanilla on top. Ooh, Shalita, walking down the street, 10 times a week. I met it, I said it, I stole my mama's credit. I'm cool, I'm hot, sock you in the stomach 3 more times.
So you know how, like, most movies from our childhood have something in them that's, like, really fucked up and weird that you don't realize is really fucked up and weird till you're an adult?
Well,
And, like, you wonder if your parents realized that it was fucked up and weird and just didn't care.
give me an example.
Big. Remember Big? Tom Hanks, Big.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
Big's
remember
great.
that? Yeah, right? It's great. You watched it with your family, like it was a family film. Hilarious. You changed the way you ate little mini corn on the cob things.
Yeah, I definitely did that.
Every kid tried it. You had to. You had to see what happened. If you actually think about this movie, it's really fucked up in a lot of ways. Just put aside the fact that even though she doesn't know it and it's an adult body, a lot of it is about a romance between a grown woman and a 12-year-old.
Child.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
you know-
fucking. It's a little weird. Like getting into the headspace. If you really try to imagine, like you're watching this movie and you're like trying to get into it, it's fucking weird.
I mean,
I don't know.
I saw that movie when I was a kid and didn't question any of it because
No.
it's a simple setup. It's like,
No.
oh, kid's an adult now, you know?
Yeah,
okay.
like in my head, I categorize it as like a body switching movie, kind of. You know,
Freaky Friday.
yeah, Freaky Friday or whatever the fuck. You know, well, Face Off came out when we were little. Like I don't know. It didn't seem. It seemed like I don't know if it was because Tom Hanks played it so well that like you just bought
Well,
the innocence of it.
I also think like part of it is like like we knew who Tom Hanks was. So you look at it and you're like, you're not thinking that's a 12-year-old boy trapped in a man's body. In my head, I'm like,
Right.
that's Tom Hanks.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I know Tom Hanks is an
Yeah.
adult man.
yeah. But also, I mean, this can't happen. So
Right.
I don't know why it felt more normal back then, but it definitely did, and it doesn't now.
Well, it
None of
wasn't.
it. I mean, they totally bone. Like they
Do they?
100%. Yeah, yeah, they absolutely do. Because then remember, that's like his awakening. Like he starts acting more like an adult and
Right.
starts blowing off his friend who's still trying to find the Zoltar machine.
Oh yeah, because he's like into his life.
Yeah, because he's like a vice fucking president at a major toy company. All of it. It's like Brewster's Millions or whatever the fuck, or that Michael J. Fox movie,
Yeah.
Secret of My Success. It's totally absurd.
Is it
all of
explicit
but-
that they sleep together, or are we just like kind of
No,
meant
it's
to-
explicit.
It
It's
is?
explicit. They start making out and then like, yeah, it's explicit.
Oh God, yeah. You know, it's funny because like I watched that, and I like I said, I'm a kid. I don't question it at all, and it's not until this very moment that I'm thinking like, yeah, I guess that is kind of fucked up because if you just imagine that inside Tom Hanks, there's that same kid that's like,
Yeah.
you just picture his face and you're like, oh yeah, that's creepy. It's something you'd see on the 6 o'clock news, like teacher from Alabama seduces student or something, and you cringe at that shit immediately.
The movie is okay watching it as a full story, but as soon as you try to like experience it from the viewpoint of any single character, it becomes a horror movie. Like
Yeah, kind of.
first from Josh's perspective, The scene where his own mother chases him out of the house with a knife
Yeah, that shit
is
was
upsetting.
crazy.
And then he has to go stay in that weird flop house in the city all by himself where there's gunshots outside and whatnot. And he's like crying, curled up in his bed. And his friend leaves him there because he has to be home for dinner. It's fucked up and crazy.
It is
man.
crazy.
It's fucking like if it was real, if this was like a more realistic movie, he would have ended up getting a job at like a fucking restaurant in the kitchen or something, and
With
he would have
no
stayed living in that
references.
fucking place. Yeah, like that's what it would turn. And he would have been trying to dodge heroin addiction for a month while he found the Zoltar machine. But in this, instead, since this is the 1980s, he becomes a computer programmer because he's good at playing Oregon Trail or whatever the fuck that
It was like a
video
baseball
game was.
game.
No, in the beginning,
Oh, no,
he's
it
playing
was like a
the
wizard
computer
thing.
game. Yeah, it's like Oregon, one of those text-based
Yeah.
command games like Oregon Trail. But yeah, it was like an ice wizard and some shit, and that apparently qualified him to be some kind of computer, I guess, data entry person at a toy corporation. That's the job he gets, with no social security number, because every 12-year-old knows their social security number, right?
Yeah.
And even if he used it, like they would know that
They'd find
it
him.
was a 12-year-old, because your social security number kind of has your birth year in it. So none of it tracks. Like how, even back then, how the fuck could he draw a paycheck, not knowing anything?
Right.
You know, and his address is like some stay by the night motel in New York. Like, I don't know, man.
He buys
it
a
seems
penthouse.
weird to me. Yeah, because he becomes a VP in like 2 days.
Because he's got all those good toy
He's got
ideas.
so many ideas because he dances
The
at
mind
FEO
of the
Schwartz
child.
with him and Robert Loggia, the meanest, gruffest motherfucker in the world. Have that heart-to-heart warm scene where they dance chopsticks out on the giant piano at FAO Schwartz. And then every asshole who ever went to FAO Schwartz in New York has to
Yep.
dance on the fucking piano. I didn't do it. I saw people do it when I went there.
Yeah, I saw people do it too. I wanted so badly to do that, and my parents found out how long the line was. They're like, "Yeah, fuck that. We don't
Yeah,
have that
it's like
kind of time."
It's like an amusement park ride. It was so stupid and fake. But whatever, it's Hollywood, man.
I wanted
New
to do
York.
it, man. I really
Yeah,
did.
I know you did.
You did too.
But okay, like that aside, this poor kid then gets thrown through this whiplash world where things just start going right for him all over the place, and he makes this great kids pad, and it shows he's got money, so he's fine with leaving his mother at home
forever.
thinking he has been kidnapped and is being held hostage by probably being like
Trafficked.
diddled every day. Well, because he even writes letters to his mom.
Oh, that's
he writes
right.
letters saying they're treating me well, and they say I might have to be here for like a month. It's so fucking weird. It's so weird, dude. Like that's a creepy thing too.
Well, yeah, it's like you watch that as a kid, and you're thinking in your little kid brain, "Well, yeah, that's what I would do." Yeah, that makes sense. You
had to do something, right?
Yeah,
You had to
if I
do
got turned
something.
into a man and had to communicate with my mother, and she didn't believe that I was me, yeah, that makes sense. I'd do that. But then
Yeah.
you watch it as a parent, and you're like, "Oh my god, my child's missing still, and someone's taunting me," or like
Yeah.
I feel I have some sort of contact that it would unmake me. Be a nervous fucking wreck.
Yeah, there's the other perspective. That's another one. From the perspective of Josh's mom, through this whole movie is a horror movie. Like, it's a movie about a woman whose son vanishes, and some crazy person is standing in the living room in her, I guess, her husband's clothes, because we never meet the father for some reason, and then runs out, and then she gets these cryptic letters and phone calls from the men she assumes kidnapped her son, and he's on milk cartons and shit.
Yeah,
You know,
He's-
like they're
he's
going through
missing.
hell. They're going through the hell of parents who have a missing child for weeks and weeks while he's in New York playing basketball in his penthouse. It's even for a 12-year-old, it's a little fucked up. But then back to Josh. Not only that, he loses his virginity at 12.
Yeah.
Then he gets to be a vice president and basically pretend to be an adult and like gets this huge crash course on being an adult and living like an adult. Like he's drinking coffee by the end of this, man. Like it's fucked up.
That's what you do.
It's what you do. It's what you workaholic drinking coffee. Fuck the trampoline. And then he has to go back.
Yeah,
Can you imagine
how do you go
what
back
his
to
life was like after that? You're 12 years old. You lost your virginity. You remember all this shit. You know, it's not like there was some magic thing where you didn't remember anything.
Well, do we know that?
I mean, you'd think they would have said something about
Well,
it.
he waves to the girl.
He waves to her. She
he
remembers
knows.
for sure.
And then
She's
well,
gonna
yeah.
remember.
And if you're her in that scene, you're like, oh my
Yeah.
God,
I fucked a 12-year-old.
I did a 12-year-old.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
sure, he was shaped like a 35-year-old man at the time, but
But now she knows. Like she didn't know at the time, but now she knows, and she gets to think about that. And like she even says something like she's going to be 40 by the time he's 18 or whatever.
oh God.
So
they
that
talk.
ain't going to work.
Yeah, they talk to each other.
Yeah, they talk about it. They admit it. Yeah, yeah. And then he goes staggering home in a man-sized suit of clothes, which is immediately going to indicate that he's been reclothed by somebody and make the parents believe definitely he's been diddled a whole bunch. And then he's going to have to go to shrinks, and he's going to have to lie, like, because he can't tell the shrinks that he was a grown-up for a month and a half. And
Yeah,
that
who
he
would
worked at a
believe
toy
him?
company, like they fucking lock him away. So either that's his possible future. And he's honest with the shrinks, and he is committed, and gets shock therapy, and ends up a fucking lunatic. Or he has to lie his way through therapy for years and years, and live with this like secret life that he lived. And then his best friend is there to confirm it. So you know those guys aren't going to stay best friends. Right. There's no way. Their lives and their entire like everything is too disparate now. There's no way they're staying friends, which is another horrible thing. But then his friend is always going to know that there's magic shit out there that can make kids into adults, you know? And that's going to go him and like maybe, I don't know, make him a little weird and crazy and maybe go looking for some dark shit. He becomes Marilyn Manson. I don't know. A redheaded Marilyn Manson, maybe.
Oh, that's funny.
Or some kind of cult leader, or
I found a Zoltar machine in the wild one day. You ever see one?
No, I don't think so. There might be one at Jay and Silent Bob's comic book store.
It was on the
I don't know.
boardwalk. I saw it on the boardwalk.
Which one? Ocean City?
I can't. It was either Wildwood or Rehoboth, maybe. But we walked by,
Okay.
and I say to my wife, "I'm like, oh, look, it's a Zoltar. You got a quarter?" She's like, "No." I was like, "But we can finally become adults. This is our chance."
I just want to be big. I
Wish
just
I
want
were-
to be big.
Wish I
was big just once.
Yo,
And by the way, Zoltar is an asshole. Okay?
Yes.
Like I know genies, when they give out wishes, there's that whole thing of like, be careful how you craft your wish because he's gonna fuck you with it. But I mean, a kid saying I want to be big and then making them like 30 years old in the morning with no warning and shit, that's a broad reading of I want to be big. You know? Like if he had woken up with like a 12-inch cock, that would have made more sense than what Zoltar did. And it would have been better for Josh.
I wouldn't
It
have
would
been
a
allowed to
different
watch
movie.
that movie, though.
It would have been a very different movie. And Mark Wahlberg would have been in it. And later, that seems like something he would do when he was like in his Boogie Nights phase. Hell, it is. It's Boogie Nights. That's how Boogie Nights starts.
It's
You just
Boogie
don't
Nights.
know. Yeah, there was a Zoltar machine, but they deleted it.
Oh, jeez, that's pretty messed up,
right.
man.
So Josh is in a lot of therapy and becomes not a well-adjusted adult.
The girl probably needs some help.
Like, wouldn't it be fucking
dealing with
hilarious
that.
if the best Josh can do as an actual adult is like really shitty jobs?
Oh, like he
and-
ran a toy company, but he can't hold down like a regular job as a
Yeah,
as a
like because
conventional
that was his
adult.
moment. Like that was his moment. That was his like right time and place moment, and then it's gone now.
They're trying
And
to
now
get him
he-
to take out the trash at like
Yeah.
some local business. He's like, are you kidding me? I ran $1 million toy company.
He's got notebooks full of like toy sketches and ideas and shit that'll never ever be realized.
You know what's
That
funny?
fucking idea. The idea he comes up with at the end is essentially a comic book on an iPad, on a tablet.
What's the idea he comes up with?
The idea is an electronic comic book. And the way they describe it is that it's basically a fucking Kindle, is what they describe.
Right.
But it's like they have it selling cartridges as different comic book issues, right? That you
Okay.
put in this machine, because everything in a video game, cartridges, discs, that was how everything was done back then. And he talks about how it's like a choose your own adventure thing. Like you'll get to decision trees. So it's also kind of like the decision trees you find in video games,
Yeah.
especially RPGs and shit. And
He was ahead of his
paired
time.
with, I mean, that was shocking to me watching it recently, how very, very similar it was to how I just read a comic book on an iPad not too long ago. So yeah, that was a solid idea. So then he gets to sit there as a real adult watching that idea probably rack up billions of fucking dollars. And it may have started an entire industry. Maybe that was the invention of the iPad in the world of big.
And he has to watch it pass him by.
Yeah, he works at a fucking Dunkin' Donuts,
Oh man, yeah, this is that
Or
would be
he's
a dark outcome.
or he's cross-dressing to afford an apartment with a roommate that he's not supposed to be living in, Who knows? For anyone who doesn't know, that's a reference to a TV show called Bosom Buddies that he actually did. That was the premise of the fucking show. These two guys had to pretend to be women. It was like Some Like It Hot, but TV. And
What was
in
it
the
called?
80s. Bosom Buddies.
Bosom buddies. I've seen bosom
Get
buddies.
it? Because they're
I get it.
buddies.
'Cause
but
of
they
the
got
bazooms.
boobs.
Yeah.
They got fake boobs. Like Some Like It Hot, okay? Except they're not I don't think they were musicians. No, they weren't musicians in this. Who else? Who else has a fucked up life from this movie?
Well, how
Yeah,
about the
late-
guy he ruins?
The guy whose career he totally shits on?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he still has his job at the end, so like I'm sure he figures out a way to take credit for the iPad thing.
What actor is that? That was the dad from Home Alone.
It's the dad from Home Alone and the crooked cop from Sopranos, and
Yeah,
I used to know his name.
He's great in that movie, but he did a bunch of stuff. How often did you watch that movie when you were younger?
Which movie? Big?
Yeah.
I saw it a number of times. I mean, yeah, you ended up watching it
I
a
saw
lot
it.
for some reason.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Constantly because
John
we
Hurd.
we had it on tape.
That's his name.
What's his name?
John Hurd.
Yeah, John Hurt. I had it constantly I watched it constantly when I was a kid. My sisters and I loved it, and a bunch of the scenes with him in it, particularly when he's mocking Josh, he's just like, "I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't
Yeah,
get it." We used to
yeah,
think
that's-
that was
yeah.
hilarious, and then when he's playing, they're fighting over the racquetball, or they're playing is it squash?
Yeah, I don't know the difference. The one in the room.
They're not in the room. They're
Oh,
like
no,
out.
they're out on a court. They're on
They're
a
playing
court,
like wall
yeah.
ball. and they start
Yeah.
fighting over the ball. He's like, yeah, you were over the line, and
It's like a little girl fight too.
it turns
right?
into a brawl, and like we thought that was the funniest damn thing we'd ever seen. I don't know why. It was dumb kid humor, but yeah, to you watch that movie, but like he ruins that guy's career.
Yeah, it doesn't make him look good. He doesn't make him look good. Let's see. I feel like we're overlooking someone whose life is utterly destroyed.
Well, definitely
I
Josh.
think that's it.
Definitely Mom.
Josh. Definitely his parents. We assume there's a father.
Definitely the girl. Definitely his
The
friend.
girl. Best friend.
What about his boss?
His boss is probably going to be confused for a while. And I don't know. I guess especially if what's her name quits. I should really know her fucking name. That's not good. I can't. I just saw it and I can't remember. Elizabeth. I know her name, Elizabeth Perkins, but I don't know. What was her name? Susan.
I don't know.
Susan. It was Susan. Susan. Elizabeth Perkins. Susan. She was in Weeds. You ever see Weeds?
That's her?
In Weeds, she played Celia in
Like
Weeds.
the main Weeds girl?
No, the
Oh.
friend.
Oh.
That was Mary Louise Parker.
Oh. I got confused for a second. They both
It's
got
okay.
that dark hair.
I like that show. I like Mary Louise Parker. I like fucking fried green tomatoes. I'll admit it.
I've never seen that.
It's oddly endearing. I don't know why. Iggy.
Oh man.
There's a character named Iggy in that.
There's just so much to unpack with the way that movie ends, because like it wraps up pretty neatly. He finds the Zoltar machine, makes his wish, he goes back home, everyone's
Yeah.
happy. But like what about like a year down the line?
Yeah, they don't even attempt to even hint at, like, he just walks into his house and the movie's like, oh, there you go, it's over. And you're just like, but then what? Then what though? Like, what is that next week like? Like, could you imagine? Like, literally every moment of his life has to be a lie after that. As a 12-year-old, it's kind of like how you don't think about what happens to Marty at the end of Back to the Future. You know, like, or I guess I should rephrase. You don't think about what happens to Marty when he finally gets back to his life in 1985.
Yeah.
After all the shit has changed. Like, if you think about that movie, I know, and this is not a new revelation or anything, but he changed his past, so he changed everything about his life. Like, he has a truck he doesn't know he has. His dad is a successful author instead of being a minimum, mid-level management guy, you know? They're in a different class. Like, even the town, his neighborhood is better than it used to be. So you have to realize, like, every single memory he has is wrong now. Like, he lived a whole life that only he remembers.
It doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, and everyone else remembers a whole childhood that he never had. Like, he got all kinds of shit for Christmas that he doesn't remember getting.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess, like, what are you, if not the sum total of your experiences?
Yeah, so
And if
you try not to think about
those
that.
have now never happened, then who are you?
Yeah, you really try to not think about that. And honestly, he doesn't have to deal with that until after the third movie. Because end of the first movie, wakes up the next day, immediately goes on the adventure of Back to the Future 2.
Yeah, no time passes.
Right? He ends up stuck back in 1955 at the end of that, and then gets shot back to the Old West in the third one. And then finally, at the end of that, he ends up back in 1985. And then has to deal with
And then
an
you have to just
entire
go
life
on
that he
living.
doesn't know. Yeah, a whole life he doesn't know because he changed the past. it's the same thing with Big. Like, what the fuck? But it's way darker.
Yeah, Big's a bit darker.
Like, Josh is gonna be messed up, man. There's no way he's okay.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe is there a way?
Yeah, I'm sure there's a way. I'm sure there's a path wherein someone who's infinitely resilient and able to compartmentalize everything that they just went through can just lock that stuff down and proceed as normal. But like, you imagine trying to get a girlfriend, after you've just lived in a penthouse apartment and and had that experience. Like then you go back to high school and you're trying to connect with a 13 or 14-year-old girl that's your age.
You like to think that, like, this experience taught him so much about women. Well, he ain't gonna meet no women for another many years.
Girls.
Yeah, teenage girls who don't know what the fuck they're doing at all either. He's gonna be all mixed up. Maybe I don't know though. Like, yeah, trauma when you're that young can fuck you up, but also like it's pretty good trauma as far as trauma goes. So. You're resilient at that age too. So like, maybe he figures out a way to make it positive and learn lessons from it. And maybe he retained some shit from his success that lets him be successful in a different way when he becomes a real adult. Why does it have to be dark? Maybe he goes back to the toy company and fucking Susan is in charge now. She runs the whole place. And he's like, hey, remember me? And she's like, you haven't aged a day. And he's like, you have. Too. And can I have my fucking job back? I gave you the iPad and you're worth $10 billion now.
Yeah, throw me a bone.
She's like, okay, but stay away from my daughter.
Oh, jeez.
And then he's like, you also have to hire my friend Billy because he's not in a good place. Billy is.
let me ask you a question. Because I know I did. Did you memorize that stupid thing they used to sing to each other?
Oh, I tried, but there was a lot of words.
The biscuit, Triscuit, ice cream, soda, pot, vanilla on the top.
Yeah.
Ooh, Shalita, walking down the street 10 times a week. I meant it. I said it. I stole my mama's credit. I'm cool. I'm hot. Sock you in the stomach 3 more times.
How the fuck do you know all that, dude?
Because I watched it 1,000 times. I'm telling you, we had that on VHS.
God. Wow,
that movie was
that's
on constantly in my house.
Man, that's a no. I never got that one down.
Me and my sisters used to do that.
I can't even judge. I have things like that just from not from this one.
It's just not that.
Dude, the part I have to mention this too. There's the part before they bone, where Elizabeth Perkins slowly takes her shirt off, and right before she shuts the lights off and he turns them back on. Because he wants to see her boobies. And she's still wearing a bra, and he just awkwardly pokes and massages at her boob. It's the strangest thing.
Yeah.
And the camera just sitting on it right there, and he's just I don't know. It struck me as weird.
It is weird, but she doesn't appear to have a problem with it. And
no, I guess she just, I don't know what she thinks. I don't know what she thinks.
But again, that was something
at that point.
We were allowed to just watch that movie. No one censored that movie. Everyone has those movies where you're your parents know what's coming up. And they're like, all right, cover your eyes, or they'll fast forward.
Yeah.
There was no moment that in Big where they're like, don't watch this.
No, there's no nudity either. There's no cussing really. As far as the red flags go, there wasn't anything. It's just fucking weird. Just fucking weird, man.
It's very weird. And
I don't trust it.
But again, it's subtle. I've never considered it until just now when you posed the question.
And it's like you kind of would expect it from a scumbag dude director. But Penny Marshall made this movie. It's fucking Penny Marshall. I don't know. It's beloved. It ends up on top 10 lists all the time, and it is fucking bizarre. It is a bizarre movie. I I know it was the 80s, but there didn't have to be a love story. You know, like
I think the love story is the thing that kicks it over the
is
top.
that it?
In the bizarro
Is that what makes
land.
it the weirdest?
Yeah, take that off the table.
Yeah.
Boy grows up. Boy goes to toy company. Right, invents toys.
Yeah.
Has a great time, but eventually realizes that he needs to get back home. You know, maybe there's like another colleague that's like, oh, but you were my
Yeah,
friend.
but where's the tension? Where's the a good buddy? Like
It would
you
have
know,
to. It would
where's
have to
the
be
conflict?
a friend. But like, I feel like the romance part of it sends it into just creep town.
I think if you'd gone the other way and it had been a darker road for Josh, that he didn't. It wasn't a success story. It was a getting through a curse story. You know, like
Right.
if he did end up at a shitty job, meeting all kinds of like dark characters and whatnot, and having to navigate that world, and he ends up like I could see that, and like by the end he ends up like a streetwise like kind of con man almost, you know, and that story could do without any kind of romance because it could be more about Josh remembering who the fuck he is.
Yeah, but,
You know,
but also
about Josh literally coming home.
we don't get to watch that movie at what 10 or whatever, however old we were.
Yeah, no,
We're not allowed to watch
That's
that
more of a sci-fi movie for adults, you know.
Right.
Of course. So instead, we get a movie where a 12-year-old in a large body bangs Elizabeth Perkins and makes toys for children. It's just fucking weird, but it's beloved because it has all those like cute scenes. You know, the trampoline scene and the keyboard scene, and the
Sticking out the top of the sunroof.
Yeah, the sunroof scene, the corn scene, the fucking putting out the birthday candles with the Ready Whip scene, the fucking silly string.
Yeah, the pizza
The silly
dough.
string as vomit. Yeah. That's I don't. It's not a bad movie. I still love it. It's still a classic. It's just fuck. It's just has to be addressed. It's a little off, and that the sequel would be real fucking dark.
Yeah, it really would.
They should make it with Colin Hanks. Although I think he's too old now too. I think he's too old now too.
What's the sequel? Like, what's the setup? Set it up for me.
What's the setup? You know what the setup is? The setup is an adult Josh who's in a bad way.
Pining for his youth.
Yes, his entire life is shit. His marriage just broke up. He's not as successful as when he was a fake adult. He's not in it, you know, total shit job, but he takes orders from some asshole all day.
And he wants to be little again.
And that's it. He just wants to go, like, he means he wants to go back to when he was a fake adult, but Zoltar makes him a kid again. And then he has to navigate being a kid in, God, what year would that be? How much older does it make him? Like 20 years?
I guess.
20 years older? So I guess what, like 97, 2007.
He's a kid in
Yeah, he's in
2007.
2007. He's a kid like 14 years old in 2007. And then he goes and finds his best friend who's 30, and he's like,
You gotta help me, man.
You gotta help me, man. And he knows him. He knows it's him because
Like,
he
fuck,
remembers
get
how
outta
he
here,
looks.
kid.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, that's the sequel. It works. It doesn't work now, but it would have worked. You know, when everyone still looked like themselves.
And you call
Yeah,
it
there you go.
Little.
You call it little. I'm gonna be small. No.
Oh, why didn't this get made?
I don't know, man. They weren't really big on. There was only the precious few comedies got sequels back then, like weird dumb shit like Police Academy.
Oh God.
Like honestly, can you think of any other '80s comedies that were good that got sequels that weren't like Ski Bunny School sequels and shit like that?
Beverly Hills Cop. It's a stretch.
I guess so. Action comedy.
Oh, you didn't
Action
specify.
comedy. Bullets. Just bullets. Guns. I don't know. They should have made Big 2.
That is a pretty dark analysis to draw from the end of that movie.
Big 2. Back to the teens.
Back to school.
Back to school again. Again.
I think you just call it little.
Little. Big and little.
Oh,
Little
man.
big. Little big man. Dustin Hoffman and Little Big Man. The scene where Josh is an adult and he walks around, I believe it's through his own neighborhood, and watches kids riding bikes and playing baseball and shit. It's very sad.
They play a lot of stickball, if I remember.
He's all wistful. Yeah, him and his buddy play stickball. I think he watches a couple kids from his baseball team just batting, hitting balls around on the field. And it's autumn. Like all the leaves are falling and shit. It's like, I don't know where they filmed that, but that is like suburbia idealist right there.
Oh, yeah.
That neighborhood of his. Jesus Christ.
I want to live there.
Well, okay, here's a question for you. Not to be too personal or anything, but will you let your kids watch Big when they're old enough? Or how old would they have to be?
I don't know.
But you said you watched it when you were pretty young. Would you let them watch it when they're like
that
12,
was like
Josh's age?
Put this on the VCR and leave me alone for an hour. That's what that was. I don't know, man. I don't know that I would.
Interesting.
I don't know. I watched it a bunch, but I think before we had this conversation, maybe I would have, but now I'm starting to doubt it.
Oh no. I ruined Big for your kids. I'm sorry, kids.
You sure did.
Oh well, they can blame me.
That's fine.
I'll show it to them.
We're gonna go to Uncle Dave's.
What did he do? He showed us Big.
No.
The movie, right? Yeah, the movie. I don't know. I guess I wouldn't either. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I had kids. I think sometimes I think I'd be a lot like my dad and just show everything to them.
And let you make.
I guess
the decision.
It depends on the kid. Like if I had a real dumb kid, I'd probably just not let him watch anything. Yeah. Like if I had a little smart fucker who read stuff all the time, I'd probably let him watch anything, because if they can get the shit in the books, they'll be able to suss through most of it. And whatever they can't, it'll scar them,
If I had a smart fucker who read lots of books, tell me you don't have kids without telling me you don't have kids.
I ain't fucking kids. No way, man.
Yeah, if he was good, if he could get the books, he could figure out the movie.
Hey, man, I learned a lot of shit from watching movies made for grown-ups and figuring out context clues when I was a kid. I learned all kinds of shit way before I should have. Bad stuff, but good stuff, too. Normal stuff, just random shit. You did, too. I know you did. I know you did.
I'm sure I did.
I know you did. Because you remember things sometimes the same way I do. Like, you'll remember stuff, and you'll be like, you know how I know that? Because of this movie. Because Kurt Russell says this in fucking Big Trouble in Little China, and that's how I know this.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you pick stuff up.
Like, when you're a kid, how do you learn what a loan shark is? I mean, you watch Rocky with your dad.
Yeah, no one explains to you, son, it's time we had that talk about loan sharks.
Unless it's part of your family business.
Well, yeah, maybe. that could be a thing.
Maybe. That was, though, that I have to say that in conjunction. Like, I learned a lot from watching grown-up movies and asking my dad a lot of annoying questions.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Usually I was smart enough to hold them until the end. A lot of times I wasn't.
Oh, I couldn't. I'd be like, Dad, who's that guy? Dad, what's
All right, you're going to have to
mean?
shut up for a while, okay? That's enough with the questions. I can hear him saying it right now.
You know what he used to do? My dad. This isn't as movie related, but like sometimes it was. I would just ask him these insane questions that no one could ever know the answer to. Like I knew I liked tacos, so I was like, Dad, who invented the taco? Because I thought like he was an adult. He was my dad. He knew everything. He should know who invented the taco. And then he would answer. He would just
make shit up.
He would just say a name. He would say two names in infinite variations. He would either say some variation of Donnie Dubaroni or Pete Chamoyak.
All right, so whether he was in a mood for alliteration or not.
Those were the two names he picked. And I was like, Dad, who invented this? And he would say, oh, it was Professor Peter Chamoyak. You know, or it was General Donald Dubronsky the third. He would just make shit up. And then one day he laughed his ass off because I asked him who invented like the cheesesteak one day. And he said Donnie Dubaroni. And I was like, wait a minute. That's the same guy that invented tacos. How's that possible? And he fell out of his fucking chair because he's
been paying attention this whole time.
He would lose track of which questions I had asked and which name he used. Like he didn't keep track. And then like I figured it out one day. I was like, you've been lying to me.
You know, your dad had a moment that night where he's like, did I ruin my son? Does he believe all this shit that he's going to be saying it in school? Like who invented the fucking skyscraper?
I put up a hand.
Bob Brasky did it.
Donnie Dubaroni. Son, I hear you failed history. You want to tell me about that?
He'd be like, what's his name in Waterboy with all these fucking fake explanations for
my mama said alligators are so ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
No toothbrush. Yeah, that's you, man. That's funny. You want to hear some weird shit my dad used to do?
Sure.
Back in the day when you couldn't just find any movie you wanted, he would remember these movies fondly from his youth that he would want to show me, but he couldn't find them, and they were never on TV. And we would just sit, and he would just explain the movie to me.
The whole thing.
He'd just tell me the story. Just tell me the story of the movie. Like, obviously truncated and whatever he remembered, right? But, yeah, like I remember him narrating, like, Somebody Up There Likes Me, the Paul Newman movie, an old Paul Newman movie. Because I loved Rocky, and he played Rocky Graziano in that, and everyone says that's where they got the Italian market scene in Rocky where he throws it. And there's a similar scene in that movie, and he just told me the movie like he was telling me a campfire story. And then one day I actually got to watch the movie, and he was pretty close. He did pretty good. He did pretty good. He did the same thing with West Side Story too. No songs, just told me the story.
Just picture your dad singing.
And he had the record. He had the LP of the soundtrack of the movie.
That's funny.
Not the Broadway one, the movie one. And I listened to that, disturbing him out when I was a kid. I know all the songs from that stupid movie.
I bet you do.
I watched the who the fuck did it? It wasn't Scorsese. It was
Spielberg.
Spielberg. Yeah, we watched that. It wasn't bad. I liked it. It was all right.
I had no interest.
As far as modern musicals go.
West Side Story to begin with, so I had no interest in a remake.
Yeah,
it's just not my thing.
Nah, it's Romeo and Juliet with bad songs.
When you're a jet all the way.
All the way from your first cigarette to your last dying day. The Rocket in Your Pocket song. That's the best.
All right, I don't know that one.
Cool. It's called Cool. Anyway, Big.
Big.
Elizabeth Perkins got to see his Big. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah, it's a dick joke. You know?
I get it.
All right. Calm down. All right. Final thought. If you can remember back, this is one thing too that I keenly felt watching this as an adult. When you were an adolescent boy do you remember that horrible, just blind yearning to not be a kid anymore?
Oh yeah.
Like, and you remember adults would always tell you, like, don't wish your childhood away.
Rush to grow up.
Yeah. Don't be in a hurry. Don't be in such a hurry. And they were right, but
Absolutely.
there was this. I don't know if it's more prevalent for dudes or not, but there's just this primal desire to not do kid shit anymore. But also, there's some kid shit you don't want to let go of.
Right.
You know, and I think most of it is just with it's you want to get laid, but you don't know it yet. Like, you don't even know what that is as a concept really yet. But your lizard brain still wants it. It's driving you towards something, and your hormones are all out of whack.
Start getting sweaty.
So, start getting sweaty watching Land of the Lost.
But yeah,
That's a deep cut. That's a deep cut for our loyal listeners.
Yeah. If you know, you know.
For the 12 people that listened to that episode, you know.
But yeah, you're trying to convince your parents that, like, I should be treated like a man now. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go play Super Mario Brothers on my Nintendo.
Right. And some of us are in more of a rush to get there than others, and try to be grown up in stupid ways that just make you seem dumber and younger and more juvenile.
Did you ever try to make the point to either of your parents that you're, like, about to turn 18, and so, like, legally you're an adult and you can do whatever you want?
I don't think I ever had the balls to go there. I knew exactly how dependent I was on my folks, and like, I definitely did not want to live at home anymore. Like, I was in no way going to be one of those people that was terminally living at home. But I didn't have a terrible relationship with my parents. I mean, I was a teenager. There was friction. But it was okay enough that I knew I was going to need my folks for a while.
Yeah.
You know, so I didn't want to piss them off too much. I did enough shit to piss my parents off, and they stuck with me. So I never really went there. But yeah, there were arguments. There were definitely arguments where it was like, I'm so close. You know, I work, I drive. Like, what more do you want from me? What more is there? What more is there to being an adult other than working and driving?
I got up before noon this morning.
I was miserable for a chunk of my day. Isn't that what being an adult is?
Jeez.
All right. Well, I'm going to go look for a Zoltar machine and get small.
How, if you find his Zoltar machine, what year are you going back to?
What year? Oh,
yeah, number one. Do you have another quarter?
Do I get to wait? Do I get to time travel, or do I get to just what age?
What age? You don't get to time travel. What age? You don't get to go back to the glory days that we so often relive on this podcast. Like, you get to be a certain age now.
19.
19?
19 was a good age, yeah. Yeah. It was a good age. You could do a lot of shit because you were an adult already, legally. Everything still worked. Like, all my parts, none of my parts were broken yet.
I read a
my
quote
cartilage
somewhere.
Was still good.
Once you hit a certain age, there's no such things as injuries anymore. There's just permanent disabilities.
Yeah, it's like that old Louis C.K. bit where he's like, you know, his shoulder hurts and he goes to the doctor and he's like, tells him, yeah, you have this wrong. He's like, all right, so what do we do about it? He's like, oh, nothing. It's just shitty now.
It just does that now.
Yeah, that's just that's your life now. You're just gonna feel that every time you do this. It's gonna hurt. Like, I'd go back to that. I had
so you wouldn't
of energy.
You wouldn't go back to, like, school.
I mean, do I have to go to school?
No, you don't. This is not like you're not exactly little.
I don't know. Yeah, 19. I guess if I don't have to actually, like, relive childhood, I'd go back to being 15. 15 or 16.
Yeah, because like if we're gonna view this through the lens of like how did Josh get a job, like you ain't getting re-enrolled in grade school. They're gonna want.
Right.
Dude, I just enrolled my daughter in kindergarten, and the amount of
boy.
information I had to provide was stunning. So
Yeah,
you're not
in this day
getting
and age,
enrolled
that's
in
true.
high school as a 15-year-old with your current information.
That's true. I got to get a fake identity. I got to go to one of them Breaking Bad people.
And if you are going to get one, like you're really going to use it so you can go back to, which you have to go back to your school district that you currently live in now. You know which school I'm talking about.
That wouldn't be fun.
You're
That
going to go
wouldn't
to
be fun
public
at all.
school in that town.
I wouldn't want to go back to the school we went to. Shit.
Right.
No, I wouldn't go to school. I don't. What the fuck would I go to school for? It was
I don't
useless the first time around. Assholes. I'd read a lot. I'd go to
Yeah.
New York probably. I'd go to New York and become some kind of weird gremlin person.
Gremlin person.
Yeah, just like live in weird clubs and like just hang out and do 15-year-old shit. You can tolerate. I wonder if you go back to that age, if you can tolerate the same level of shit that you could tolerate then, or if your brain is still old.
You know what we could do is like if you and I found this old time machine, we're 15 again, we could go and find that mythic Foot Clan Ninja Turtle kid hideout where you got to just smoke cigarettes and play narc and then train as a ninja. That's what life would be like. That's what you go do. You finally
Foot
join the
Clan.
Foot Clan.
Join the Foot Clan. Start our own goddamn Foot Clan.
And you'd be smarter than all those other kids because you've got some mileage on you. They just don't know about it.
Yeah.
And then one day you're Shredder's right hand man. It's a perfect
all
plan.
kinds of shit. Yeah. Couldn't go. What could go wrong? What could go wrong?
Oh, 4 mutant turtles maybe.
That would be kind of cool, bro.